Hello and welcome to my prediction video for the March 26th caucuses that are happening on the Democratic side of the field. There are three caucuses that are happening, one in the state of Alaska, one in the state of Hawaii, and one in the state of Washington. I'll be discussing in this episode of my predictions series which candidate I think will win in each of those states and why. I'll start alphabetically. First, the state of Alaska. I think that Bernie Sanders will win in the state of Alaska. I have three main reasons for this contention. The first is that Sanders has done phenomenally well in smaller states with smaller caucuses and not as many people voting because, for whatever reason, he's done phenomenally well in these caucuses. I don't think that trend will change. He's done great in Kansas. He did great in Maine. I think he's going to do quite well in Utah and Idaho. And frankly, I think that Sanders will win in the state of Alaska on March 26th. There's a lot of other factors that are in his favor for the state of Alaska. It's a more diffuse state in terms of where the people live in the state, and that has worked to his advantage. In states with more rural counties and counties with smaller populations, Sanders has actually done quite well. And then my first reason was he does quite well in smaller caucuses. My second reason is that he does quite well in sort of rural counties and population centers that aren't as populated, frankly. And the third reason has very much to do with Alaska's proximity to Canada. Now, Canada is a fascinating country with a really awesome healthcare system and a fairly diverse electorate in its own right in terms of the politicians they support and how that all works. But here's the deal. Alaska, with its proximity to Canada and being able to hear a lot of the news out of Canada and see what's going on in Canada, I think understands for Alaskans just how great certain aspects of Canada's social safety net and healthcare system work to the advantage of Canadians. And since Sanders is by far the more progressive candidate in terms of healthcare and a few other issues, I think that the people of Alaska who are voting in the caucus on the 26th will be supporting Bernie Sanders more than Hillary Clinton. And that's my prediction. I think he'll win. I think he'll win by 10% more than Clinton at least, and she'll be second. All right, now the state of Hawaii. My prediction here as well is that Sanders will win. I think he'll win big. I think he'll win by 15% more than Clinton. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Two main reasons. The first, Representative Tulsi Gabbard out of Hawaii endorsed Bernie Sanders. She did it in a pretty dramatic way. She resigned her post as the vice chair of the DNC, and she endorsed Sanders right after resigning that post. Again, pretty symbolic, big, dramatic way. And so I think Tulsi Gabbard, being a pretty popular representative in the state of Hawaii, and lending her endorsement to Sanders and her voice to his campaign in terms of doing a support video and talking about her reasons for supporting him, sends a big message, both in terms of support within the state of Hawaii, but also in terms of the candidates that they choose to represent them at the national level. And I think that it's a big deal when a vice chair of the DNC resigns their post to endorse a candidate. And so I think that's going to play a big part. The second big reason, Hawaii is one of these smaller caucuses, smaller states that works in Sanders' favor, right? It's a very progressive, very liberal, very democratic state. It has been for a long time. And I don't think that's going to change between now and March 26th, that all of a sudden they're going to sort of head over in terms of support to Clinton. I think that the people of Hawaii who will be participating in this caucus on the 26th will be supporting Sanders by pretty big margins, 10 to 15%, and Clinton will be second there. I really think that's what's going to happen. That's my prediction there, and I stand by my prediction. All right, moving to the state of Washington. I also have three reasons in the state of Washington for why I think Sanders will be the winner there. If you've been following so far, my predictions are that Sanders will win, and he'll win big on March 26th in the contests that are happening on that day. The big reasons there is that they're all caucuses and that they're all very progressive voting electorates in terms of who will be participating in the process there. I think it works to Sanders' advantage. All right, the 3 reasons I think Sanders will win in the state of Washington. Reason number 1, a lot of the contributions to the Sanders campaign have been out of the Puget Sound area, Snohomish County and King County in particular, and that sends a big message to me in terms of thinking who will be having the most support on the 26th and the caucus happening in that state. So with that first reason, the reason I think that he'll have so much support is that when people contribute to a Democratic campaign or any campaign in general, they tend to also turn out to vote for the candidate they've contributed to. And so I think that works to Sanders' advantage. The second reason, rallies. Sanders has done a lot of rallies in the state of Washington. He's done rallies in Spokane, he's done rallies in Seattle, he did rallies early on in the process, and he's done rallies of late. Tens of thousands of people showed up all across the state to listen to him speak. Frankly, I have not seen Hillary Clinton having this nearly as much a degree of sort of activist, grassroots level support in the state of Washington, and that does not work to her advantage in a caucus. In primaries, it's fine. People turn out, they vote, they don't really talk with each other about who they're voting for in a similar way to a caucus. So it sends a big message to me when tens of thousands of people show up to Sanders rallies in the state of Washington, because for a caucus, you have to show up. You have to show up and you have to be present, and you have to sort of indicate support. And so showing up to a rally is sort of a trial run to showing up to a caucus in terms of being able to publicly display one's support for a candidate. And so I think that's a big deal in terms of predicting who I think will win in the state of Washington. The third reason that I think Sanders will do very well in the state of Washington for their caucus is that there are a lot of universities in Washington. There's University of Washington, there's Western Washington University, there's Washington State University, Central Washington University, Gonzaga, Whitman, Whitworth, University of Puget Sound. There's a whole lot of universities and academic institutions all around the state of Washington. Now that spells good news for Bernie Sanders because he is winning huge with younger demographics, college students. It's no contest for sure in terms of just either side of the field. Sanders has a ton of support with younger voting demographics, and so I think that's a big factor in his favor in the state of Washington. So that's my predictions for March 26th. I think that Sanders will win in Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington. That he'll come out quite far ahead in terms of delegate apportionment on the 26th. Yes, he will still be behind Clinton, who is the front runner, and she'll be ahead in the delegate count for pledged delegates. But I think it will send a very big message that there is support for Sanders and that he can win, and he can win big in big states like Washington. And so it's also really great that Sanders is in the process still, and that it's still competitive, that there is no decisive victor yet, because that's great for the marketplace of ideas. It's great for debate, discussion, and it's great for energizing the base of the Democratic Party to turn out and vote and participate in democracy. And that can only spell good news for the general election, that there is still a competitive race and that there's still people participating in the process. So those are my predictions, and it will be very fun to see if my predictions are true on the 26th of March. All right, thanks for listening.